finally happening. The move that we all wanted to see is happening right now. So the bottleneck for crypto movement has been, for the past 30, 40 days, has been the tariffs. The uncertainty of tariffs have been holding everything back, the whole market, not only crypto, but also stocks, commodities, and everything, because the US was pointing a gun at all the other countries, demanding something from them. And now that we're seeing things happening, we're seeing a sign of relief, not only in crypto, but also with the S&P 500 and everything else. So that brings us to these amazing numbers that we're seeing right now. Let's take a look. For example, Bitcoin, $103,000, Ethereum, 2,338, XRP 238, BNB 637, Solana at 172. Wow, remember just not even 72 hours ago, Bitcoin was at $97,000, something like that, 96. Ethereum was below the 1800s. So crazy to see that huge movement. In the past 24 hours, Ethereum moved 20%. So a lot of people are gonna make fun of me because I sold my Ethereum bags, and had I held it, I would have at least made maybe 20% more than what I sold them for, but doesn't matter because Solana and BNB are also performing very, very well. I sold my Ethereum for Solana and for BNB, a little bit of Ripple and Stellar, but I don't have any Ethereum any longer. A lot of my personal friends are making fun of me because I sold right before the rally, but again, Ethereum has pissed me off so much that I don't even want to hold it anymore. So let's jump right into the video because we have more news to talk about. So already showed the prices of these assets, and something very important is that now we're back into the greed of the market. So we have been hovering around the 50, 55, 56 in the Fear and Greed Index, which is very neutral. And now we jumped already from the low 60s all the way to 70 in a single day. And we have been holding there. And guess what? Last month we were at extreme fear. So funny to see how things in just a matter of a few days went from extreme fear to greed in a matter of days. And as I said, that tariffs were the bottleneck, were the things that were holding the global economy from increasing or from getting better, was the tariffs. And guess what? Trump just says that tariffs will come down from the 145% imposed on China, and China also imposed back on the US. So as I said before, this is just a game of pointing a gun because US has superiority above most of the countries, if not all of them. And then Trump can just do what he wants, right? So even if you don't want to admit, it is a little bit of bullying towards other countries because they can do anything. If they retaliate, it's going to hurt their own economy. So at the end of the day, most of the countries are trying to get into a compromise with the US, and China is also doing the same. Trump suggested that he will lower by 50% more or less. So we'll have to see how this goes. And China is most likely going to cut as well the retaliated tariffs towards the US as well. And in the meantime, Xi Jinping is also injecting money in China. We can see here from this article that you can go ahead and read by yourself later on, but this article explains that China is injecting 138 billion dollars into their own economy. So 1 trillion yen, if I'm not mistaken. This is the amount of money that they are injecting in liquidity back into the economy. So this will also reflect, and it is reflecting already in the Chinese stock market. We can see it is rallying up because usually when you have injection of money, you have a stimulus. This stimulus goes back into the economy in all the ways, including the stock market, just like it happened for the pandemic, just like it happened with the other stimulus and injections that we saw before, like Evergrande and all these other disasters that China kind of bailed out. So most likely the Chinese market is going to go up a little bit, which should reflect positively on the global economy. And that comes also with rates cut in China by 50 BPS. So they're cutting rates. The UK is cutting rates. The US is yet to cut any rates, but most likely will do so later this year. So you can see that even the Chinese economy is doing a little bit better right now. That being said, if we look at liquidations for crypto, $1.17 billion liquidated. And of course, most of these, 75% of these were shorts liquidated. So people who were betting against the upside of these assets, they got wrecked and wrecked a lot because these candles, man, were ridiculous. Now going back to the liquidation heat map, we can see that Bitcoin has a very strong magnet here at the 104,000, which we touched early this morning at 104,264. So right now we're looking again at the 104,650. So we're getting into the highs, $104,000. If we switch to Ethereum, Ethereum has a huge void. You can see right here that Ethereum has has a absolute monster of a void here between the 2478 and the 2286. So we have this huge void with no positions. I think people are scared to put positions here on Ethereum right now, but we could potentially, if Bitcoin keeps the momentum, we could look back at the almost 2,500 for Ethereum. And Solana, you can see Solana is still bullish. It hasn't lost its momentum. It just touched the 174 and liquidated a bunch of people. And now most likely it will look again at the 176 if the momentum keeps going. And you can see that just yesterday it was at 154, and 154 was already very high for Solana compared to what we saw. We saw even low 100s in a few weeks ago. Now, looking back at Bitcoin, which currently is right at $103,000, you can see that in the 4-hour charts, we did the bottleneck. We started to go up and we thought, well, no one is going to stop us. Then, of course, we did end up going down a little bit all the way to the $93,000. 3 days ago, less than 3 days ago, we were at $93,000. And then we went all the way to the 97.5. And then people thought, well, this is it. It bounced on the moving average right here, the 9 moving average. And now we're back at above $100,000. And if we hold, remember the 97 was the sweet spot, which is where we traded right here. We actually bounced on the 97,000, which showed that it is now a very strong support for us. Now, bouncing back, if we lose a little bit of momentum, we should see again the lower 102,000. And then if the momentum keeps going, once the RSI kind of cools down a little bit, we should be going maybe to all-time highs once again. Maybe not all at once, but for sure we should see it happening once we get the ball rolling. For Ethereum, you can see how steep this climb was. Very, very sideways market since late April. So we spent a week or two just sideways, just hovering right here. And then all of a sudden, boom, we bounced on the 100 and 200 moving average. And then we went to the 2,330. We even touched, like we sniffed the 2,500 right here for Ethereum. Most likely Ethereum will have to correct because we are at 85 in the RSI on the 4-hour charts. If we go to the daily is at 81. So yeah, most likely we will have to slow down right now, let the RSI cool down, and then we should see another leg up. Just like we saw on November for Bitcoin, that during November, Bitcoin had a huge spike all at once. See right here, it started going up, and then it kind of slowed down to give the RSI a little bit of a breather, and then back again all the way to the 107, 108. And even though it was going up, the RSI was going down. So most likely we should be seeing something like this right now. The price hovering around the 103, the RSI going back down below the 70, and then another rally up. For Solana, similar to Ethereum, we were just hovering a little bit. We kind of tested the moving averages right here, especially the 200, and then the 200 held us, and you can see a lot of volume just came all at once, and we saw a huge spike in price all the way to the 170. So amazing for us. I have been selling my spreads since I think May 2nd. And we've been going very, very well with that. So much so that now we have $20,000 to trade. I'm going to be using $10,000 in margin each time. So at least if we end up having a huge loss, which most likely is not going to happen because I'm lowering the risk very, very much, we still have capital to keep trading. So on the 0DT, just to close the video, the 0DT is performing very, very well. We are at 1% right now in May. We had some losses last week, but now we are going back towards the 1%. Hopefully we can catch up to April and have an amazing month, especially because now IV is super high. So with more volatility, with more IV, you have juicier premiums. Of course, as always, we're still working on the course. The course should be ready this month. So stay tuned for that. We teach you how to open, close positions on the topics, how to put money into the copy trading, how options work so you can choose your own options, how to make spreads like us, and how to be profitable overall in any market situation. So stay tuned for that. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on notifications for the videos. So whenever we post, you can get a notification on your phone that we just posted a video. So thank you very much. I hope you guys have an amazing end of the week, and I'll see you guys on Monday for another video. Take care. Peace.